Prince Charles is both the oldest and longest-serving heir apparent in British history. As the Queen's eldest child, he was made Prince of Wales in July 1958, although his investiture was not held until more than a decade later, when he was crowned by his mother at Carnarvon Castle. Having served more than 52 years as Prince of Wales, or 19,129 days, he holds a host of records. He is the longest-serving Prince of Wales, the longest-serving Duke of Cornwall and the longest-serving Duke of Rothesay. When he becomes king, he will be the oldest person to do so. Current record holder William IV was 64 when he became king in 1830. William IV was the third son of George III, who presided over the country during the defeat of Napoleon and the loss of the American War of Independence, and had 15 children. William's elder brother George IV came to the throne in 1820 but died 10 years later from a tumor, but not before his only legitimate child had also died. George III's second son Frederick died of dropsy and heart disease in 1927, leaving William IV as the surprise heir to the throne. He reigned for just 7 years, but in that time oversaw several reforms including updating the Poor Law, restricting child labor, abolishing slavery in nearly all of the British Empire and the refashioning of the electoral system. He was succeeded by his niece, Queen Victoria, in 1837. However, William IV was never declared Prince of Wales. This means the second oldest and longest-serving Prince of Wales in history is Edward VII, who Charles overtook on September 9, 2017. As Queen Victoria and Prince Albert's eldest son, Edward VII transformed the idea of royal public appearances to something much more like we know today. He opened the Thames Embankment in 1871, the Mersey Tunnel in 1886, and Tower Bridge in 1894. Born on November 9, 1841, he was made Prince of Wales before he was even a month old. He had to wait almost 60 years until he ascended the throne when his mother died in January 1901. He was the longest-serving heir apparent in British history, until his great-great-grandson took that title off him on April 20, 20. Much like Charles, though, he had played an active role in the running of the country beforehand. The royal family website said Edward acted as his mother's deputy from 1898, but had previously been excluded from any involvement. Royal expert Howard Hodgson told Express.co.uk that Charles has been the power behind the throne for a long time now. He said, until maybe 10 years ago, the Duke of Edinburgh had a lot of say in these things. Edward was something of a pioneer in fashion, food and many other things. Dana Bentley Cranch wrote in her 1992 book, Edward VII, Image of an Era, that he made wearing tweed, Homburg hats and Norfolk jackets fashionable. Wearing a black tie, instead of white ties and tails, was popularized by the future king. The tradition of men not buttoning the bottom button of their waistcoats is also believed to be down to Edward, who supposedly left his undone because of his rather large girth. Shortly before his coronation, according to Roy Hattersley's 2004 book, The Edwardians, his waist measured some 48 inches, 122 centimeters. His culinary legacy lives on to this day, as he introduced the practice of eating roast beef and potatoes with horseradish and Yorkshire puddings on a Sunday. He was a keen sportsman, and ordered the clocks at Sandringham to be moved forward half an hour to give him more daylight time for shooting. So-called Sandringham time continued until 1936, when his grandson Edward VIII abolished it. Edward VII, much like our current queen, also took a keen interest in horse racing, and his horse won the 1900 Grand National. Some of Edward's actions as Prince of Wales, however, left Queen Victoria concerned. His high society lifestyle as Prince of Wales, the royal family's official website said, caused her considerable misgiving. He became embroiled in the royal baccarat scandal in 1891, when reports came out that he had been involved in an illegal card game for money the previous year. He appeared as a witness in court upon his ascension to the throne. His main interest lay in foreign affairs and naval and military matters. He embarked on numerous state visits across Europe, and earned the nickname, Uncle of Europe, as he was related to nearly every other European sovereign. Edward VII died on May 6, 1910, aged 68. Moments before his death, his son, who would soon become King George V, told him that his horse had won at Kempton Park that afternoon. The king replied with his final words, "Yes, I have heard of it. I am very glad." He lost consciousness shortly after and was put to bed. He took his final breath 15 minutes